Hi everyone, S.E. Smith here, and I'd like to welcome you tonight to another wonderful Throwback Thursday. I owe everybody an apology for missing last Thursday night. I had it planned in my schedule, and the next thing I know, I kind of lost track of time. I got lost in the story that I was writing, and somebody came on and they said, "Are you going to be doing a Throwback Thursday tonight?" And I was like, "Oh yeah." And then I look at the time and it's like almost 9 o'clock and I'm thinking, "Oh well, I guess not tonight." So just want to make sure that everyone can hear me. If you can, give me a yes, I can hear you. I appreciate that. It's always nice to know that I'm not just talking to the phone and nobody can hear me. I'd like to say hi to Chris and Sandy. Chris, where are you from? Sandy is from Ohio. I think you guys have had a little bit of a cold front coming through up there. I'm not sure. I know that we're expecting one through, I think in a couple of days. My husband said we're going to have a cold front. So we'll probably get from 84 down to about 82. So we're already getting into that nice summer heat. He came in today and he was like drenched. I was like, oh, okay, no hugs for you today. Hi Trisha. I'd like to say hi to Trisha and Debbie and welcome tonight. I was going to be doing a little bit of talking about the Dragon Lord series. Again, I apologize for missing last Thursday night. I completely got lost in the world I was writing, and the next thing I knew, it was already about an hour and a half past when I was normally going to do a Throwback Thursday, and I decided, I'll just have to wait and just give you guys my heartfelt, apologies. So, what story had me so fascinated that I just totally lost track of time? Well, I'm sure that all of you have found stories that you get lost in. And when I'm writing them, especially when I'm writing the Dragonlings, I tend to do that. I get so engrossed in what they're doing and what they're saying and just the different situations that they find themselves in. And in this story, I've had a lot of people ask me, well, can you do this holiday and that holiday and this next one? And suddenly, out of the blue, I had this great idea about doing a Dragling story wrapped around St. Patty's Day. So that's where the Dragonlings and the magic four-leaf clover came from. And I'm going to read you guys a little bit, probably a snippet now and a snippet in a little bit. But I really am enjoying this story and getting back in. The Dragonlings are getting a little bit older. The older Dragonlings are about between 6 and 7 years old now. And what I really enjoy about writing as they're getting older, because it's getting me closer and closer to writing their full-length adventure, which they're going to go on. And from there, they will end up going off into their own stories as they've grown up. So I still have quite a few more stories to go with little Dragonlings, with them still being young. And I've totally fallen in love with Mora and Leo. So they're playing a big part in this story. So we're getting to see some of the little ones that are growing up, and Hope. Oh my gosh, Hope too. So let me share this little bit with you. Hello, Isabella. I'd like to say hello. She said she made it this week. That's okay. I totally missed last week, so we're in good company. I could just see going on last week is the one week that I missed. All right, so here's a snippet from the Dragonlings and the magic four-leaf clover. The forest grows thinner and changes to a sea of sand. I've never seen anything like it before, Balant said with a worried frown. Did you see any tracks? Zohar asked. Balant nodded and leaned forward to rub his hand along Bio's neck. The symbiote shivered at the young boy's caress. Zohar motioned for Balant to tell him what he and the twins saw. I saw Leo's tracks. He was chasing something across the sand. There were some strange tracks in the sand near the edge of the forest. It looked like worm tracks with lots of legs, but they kept disappearing. I think whatever it was went under the sand. Whatever it is, it made Bio and Simba nervous. They kept pawing at the sand and hopping around, Blanche shared. Mama and Aunt Tina aren't going to be upset if Leo gets eaten, Rome groaned from where he was sitting behind Jabbar on Precious. Do we have to go that way? Phoenix asked, riding up on Harvey, the large symbiote of her parents that was in the shape of a large dog with floppy ears. Spring sat behind her. Yes, we's got to go that ways, Maura stated, touching Crash's side and moving forward. When did she get so bossy? Spring asked, watching Maura ride ahead. I don't know, but she's almost as bossy as Zohar, Blanche said. Zohar shot his cousin a scowl. Leaders are supposed to be bossy, he said. I thought only mommies were bossy. That's what my daddy said. I'm going to have to tell him that Mommy really is the leader then, Rome said with a confused expression. Spring and Phoenix looked at each other and snickered. Zohar shook his head. He decided being the leader was a lot more hard work than his daddy made it look. Let's go before we lose Maura, too, Zohar said, urging Goldie to move down the trail. So that's a little bit. Now I've got to do a little bit of tweaking here and there, clean it up a little bit more. But I'm just so excited about this story and seeing how more is coming out. And to give you a little bit of synopsis, a little bit of feedback on what the story's about. So Paul decides he's going to take Maura camping. Well, of course, the other guys find out, so they all decide that dads are going to take the kids camping for 3 days and just have some father-child bonding time. And, of course, all of the women are kind of like, are you sure about this? And, the guys are like, oh, yeah, we can handle this. Paul's going to be there, so no problem. We'll have Paul with us. So they kind of say, okay, no telling any stories or anything like this. You guys just keep an eye on the kids. Don't lose them this time. And so Paul ends up, when you're around a campfire, that's what you do. You sit around the campfire, you have marshmallows, and you tell campfire tales. And so Paul, and I'm not going to give you too much more, but Paul tells the kids about this tale. And there just happens to be 2 very mischievous goddesses listening to it who decide, I bet you that would make a great adventure for them. And so the next thing you know, the dads have gone missing and the kids are on an adventure to go find them because they just know that they've been taken by the leprechauns. So that's part of the stories that I have. With the kids, it's interesting because I'm watching them as they start growing up. And, I see the changes in the way they're talking in my head and the way they're acting. They've still got the kid stuff, but then you can also see them, processing information a little bit more. And taking a more proactive role with the younger kids and trying to kind of guide them along and let them be included. So, I did see quite a few. I see hello from Rhode Island. Thank you. I have Kelly and Sandy, and I don't know if it's John, but I see John, Debbie, and you're going to love the goddesses in this one. And what's really cool is you're going to see in this story that they end up going to other characters that you've seen in previous books. So it's just this whole world that comes together that I'm really excited about. Hello, Melissa. Now, I saw that Angela says she has so many questions. So if you do have some questions, please go ahead and ask them. I don't mind stopping and answering the questions as we go. Courtney says, I love your books. Amazing work. Thank you. It's funny because if you would have talked to me yesterday, I was ready to quit. Honestly, I was ready to quit. I had even thought about talking to my husband because I've told you guys before that I had always made this one promise to myself that when it wasn't fun anymore, that I wouldn't do it. And it's not that it isn't fun anymore, but one of the things that I try to do even through my stories is sometimes I take things personal, and I shouldn't. You know, it's part of being in the business. It's part of being a mom or a teacher or anything else that I've done in my life. But I do really, really enjoy writing the stories. And so when I get, some bad reviews, it kind of puts me in that dump. Because I put a lot of my heart and soul in who I am in the stories. And so if you kind of get a bad review, which everybody's going to get one, so it's like, as a friend of mine in England told me, she says, you just got to pull your big girl panties up and keep on going. And, there were some days where it just kind of gets a little bit too much. And I'm thinking, why am I missing out on going with my husband to pick up our grandson or something like that? And, I just kind of say, then I take a break, just like anyone else does. And once I step away, and then I woke up this morning, and I had so many wonderful emails from readers, and it made me realize that, you always seem to hear the bad stuff, but you don't hear all of the great stuff that's in the background. And I think that's where I need to kind of refocus and tell myself I need to stay focused on the good stuff. And the good stuff is writing about the Dragonlings and finding out more about what's going to happen. And I couldn't quit anyway because I need to write Phoenix's story, and I need to know what's going on with Jarman, and I've got Core, and I've got Runt, and I've got, Edge. Oh my gosh, that book turned out so good. I fell in love with Edge and Lena and the women that are with them. I'll wait and give that on another Throwback Thursday, but that turned out a lot longer than I expected. The story did, but it turned out really, really great. So let me go ahead and get off my soapbox. And Isabella says your head must always be very, very busy. And I think that's probably part of why I get down in the dumps, is because I've always got these stories going, or the characters talking, and I get frustrated because my fingers can't type as fast as my brain is going. So when that happens, it kind of gets overwhelming. And one of the things I do is go to the movies. And I enjoy, going to the movies and taking that break, because for about 2 hours, my brain just shuts down and I'm focused on that. So that's one thing that is very, very positive for me. Okay, so Angela asked, I know I asked you this question before on Goodreads, but do you think you will do, hold on, a newsletter short story with the dad's dragon or cat and interacting with their children? So let me make sure I understand this. Do you think you will do a newsletter short story with the dad's with the dad's dragons? Yes, where they're talking. Okay, yes, I see where she's coming from. So it's not just, it's basically one of the, I know which one I would do. I would have to do Cree and Kalo and Hope, because, I've got to read you this part, because this part with Hope, sorry for the finger, not the bad finger, the one that was in front. See if I can get this up, because it was really cute. Oh, if I read you this part, then I'll give you a big clue away. But not if I do this. Maybe. So, yes, to answer your question, it's going to be, I'll have to see when I can do that. But yes, with Cree and Kalo and Hope, because now you've got the twin dragons, and they have their precious little girl. And so you got these two big, fierce dragons and this little bitty dragon. And she is going to be, of course she's going to have those two dragons wrapped around her finger. But she's got a lot of her mommy in her. So expect a story. Now that you've got my brain really kicked into high gear, it's going to be a lot of fun. Let me read you this little part here because I really, really enjoyed it. Mora nodded. Has you seen my dada? I's lost him, she sniffed before she started crying. I thinks the leprechauns took him. Can you please help us get our daddies back? I's got 2 daddies, Hope added, pulling away from Phoenix so she could sit up in front. They's really bigs, and my mommy and I loves them. My daddy is really, really big, Jabbar said. My mommy says I shouldn't worry because I still have a lot of growing, so I can be like him. Phoenix held her breath when Spring grabbed her hand and pulled her forward. She could feel her sister's hand tremble and squeezed it. Spring drew in a deep breath and looked down. Phoenix and I miss our dad too, but not as much as our mom would. She needs Daddy, Spring said in a quiet voice. So do we, Phoenix added, smiling down. And I'm not going to read it too much more because I'm having to skip a few words there so I don't give the clues away. But I think that you guys will really enjoy this story. It's got some really funny parts and it's got some really touching parts. But I like the way that not only do the guys work together, but the way the kids work together as well. So Debbie says, I love all your books. Thank you, Debbie. Chris says, your books are great. They make me smile. And that is what I want. My goal when I write these stories is to take everyone away on an adventure and to leave you feeling good. You know, to give you, like me, when I have that quiet time when I go to the movies and my brain shuts down for a little while. It's just so nice to escape from everything else and get lost in another world. And, you know I'm not always going to be able to do that for every reader. I would love to be able to do that. That's where my heart is. But not every story is for everyone. And sometimes the story is not for a person at that moment. It may be like me. To give you a good example, I started reading the Harry Potter series. And I actually own the first Harry Potter book and tried reading it at least a dozen times when I first got it. And it took me probably about 1.5 years just to get through the first couple of chapters. And then after I did that, then I really enjoyed the stories. But it really took me, it took me 1.5 years to get into the story. And so sometimes I wasn't ready for it. And so I think I look at my stories, well, maybe sometimes people aren't ready for, they don't want to laugh or they don't want to, get lost in sci-fi or whatever. So I keep hoping that, eventually it will be. Thank you, Angela. And thank you for giving me this great idea. I can just picture the twin dragons teaching their little girl something and her kind of showing them that she's been watching them too. LJ said hello. And she says she loves my books. Hello. Hi, Edith. She says, love your books. Looking forward to your next one. Hoping for Edge. Well, Edge is coming. I've also got another treat I've been working on. It's an actual adult coloring book. It's an actual coloring and activity book, but it's more than that. I have custom artwork that was done for me based on I talked with an artist actually in Spain, and we worked together to create some original drawings. On top of that, I created some activities, which are a lot of fun because I like doing word searches and puzzles and mazes and things like that. But then it's also going to include 2 of my Dragling stories, the Dragonlings Day at the Beach and the Breakfast Run. So for the first time ever, I'm going to have those in actual print. And it's going to have the original artwork that you can actually color. So just to let you guys know that there's a Dragonlings coloring and activity book coming with 2 Dragonling stories and well over 80 pages of coloring activities. So if you like to color, that's another option. And the reason I started doing that was because, you know, the artwork is so beautiful, and I've really gotten into actually coloring on my iPad. So it was kind of neat. I found it kind of therapeutic to just sit there and then do these colors, and then I'm watching it pop, and it's like, oh my gosh, that's so beautiful. And I realized it was very, very relaxing. Then on top of that, I've got Edge's book coming out, and that one I am so excited about. And then I've got the Twin Dragons Destiny coming out. And I was going to talk to you tonight as well about the characters. And when I'm writing these Dragonlings books, I get to see and meet and really get to know a lot of the characters all over again. And I get to see them in a different way. And actually in this one, we have a lot of the guys. This book is actually going to be more focused on the guys and the kids than it is the women this time. So you get to see the men in a different way. They're strong, but yet it's like, you know, with Paul, I think Paul has to be one of my favorite characters that I've written. He, you know, he's gone through so much. He's got that quiet sense of authority about him. And even though he wasn't originally a Dragon Lord, he was just a human, you know, he brought in so much strength for the guys, and he's been such a great role model for them. And it's neat seeing his character changing as well, because, you know, he's very protective of Mora, and yet, you know, she's almost like a polar opposite to what Trisha was. Trisha was this, you know, tomboy, and, you know, he could not get her into a dress or anything else, where Mora is like, I'm the princess, I'm supposed to wear dresses, I'm supposed to have the frilly hats, and I can't go unless I got all my dolls with me. And so he's learning all over again what it is to be a dad, and, you know, and this to a little girl who is a girly girl, but she's strong in her own way. So I'm looking forward to sharing that part with you. And I'm also getting to see different parts of Viper and Fox, and of course the Twin Dragons, and their relationships with each other. And so I really think that you're going to enjoy the stories. Nadine says, your stories are the best, so she can't put them down. Then rereading is a blast too. Thanks. I think that's one of the biggest compliments I get, is that people say that they reread my stories a lot. And I have to admit, what was I doing? I think it was Touching Rune. I had to do something, and I had to bring Touching Rune up, and I started reading it, and the next thing I know, I was like totally lost in the story. And then again, I end up reading Twin Dragons. I had brought the file up to do some research, and as I was reading, you know, I'm looking for different parts because I remember certain scenes and certain words and phrases that they said and that were really important that I wanted to bring back in. And next thing I know, I'm lost in the story. And I think that, to me, is something that if you can write a great story, it helps the readers. When they go to reread, they'll find different things that they may have missed the first, second, or even third time. So that's one of the things that I enjoy doing. So let's see. Melissa says, so excited. She pre-ordered them all. Thank you. Courtney says she pre-ordered the Dragonlings book. Again, I have one that I'm planning on writing for Thanksgiving. I probably shouldn't have given that one away, but I do have a Dragonlings Thanksgiving book that I want to write. And when I wrote and released Pearl's book this last week, one of the things that I did, and this is where the question came in, have you ever done something good? And it's kind of come back to bite you in the butt. And so what happened is that maybe I shouldn't go see Marvel movies, but when you go to watch like the Black Panther, we went to watch the Black Panther, well then you stay for after the credits, and then they give you those outtakes, and so they give you, more of the story that you want to see. So I had this brain fart, if you want to call it that, that I wanted to give more with Pearl. And I've had a lot of people asking me, you have these reads on your website, but we can't buy them. I want to put them on my Kindle. I want them in the library with, from Amazon. So one of the things I decided to do is I would put that with Pearl's book, and I put the Great Easter Bunny hat because it went with it. And so anyway, the way the formatting worked out is it came out kind of towards the bottom because it is long. And, so I was basically giving you the 2 books in one. And some people got upset about that. So anyway, I live and learn. That's all I can do. I was trying to give a little bit extra, and some people, I guess, didn't read that I was giving them an extra story further down. And I was kind of doing it as an outtake, so that they could read, they could see what other books I had, and then they would have the Great Easter Bunny hat to, leave them off with on something good and positive and funny. So I'm still planning on doing it again. So just so you know, it's the S.E. Smith outtakes. So let's see what's going on. So Rosalie says exactly, love all your stories, a book bonanza. And Edith says, love all your books, looking forward to your next. She said she was hoping it. Let's see. I think I'm clicking on stuff. Sandy, you're right. I can't make everyone happy, so do it again. Like I said, yesterday I was ready to give it all up. And there's times where my husband told me, he said when he had his business, he said, one of the first people that gave him advice said, there's some days that you wouldn't take $1 million for your business, and other days where you give it away for a nickel. And I think yesterday was one of my give it away for a nickel days. And then I went and pouted and played with the dog and did a few other things. And then I said, that's it. I'm going to do what I want to do. And I have to do what's right for me. And I had a friend in Australia tell me that. And she's right. You have to do what's right for you, what makes you feel good. And it makes me feel good to write these stories and give love and laughter and family and hope and, a few tears. There's always going to be a few tears here and there through the books. But they always end with a happily ever after. And yeah, I love the outtakes. Bernie said, she goes, I love the outtakes. I love the outtakes. It's one of the things, and when you're sitting there and you're watching all these credits go through, you kind of look, okay, well first, where, who did the music, and then where are all these different, scenes from? And you're looking at all these different places around the world, and then you see all of these people, and, I think, which one was it? I think the Greatest Showman, that one may have been the one that they said, Hugh Jackman said that they had 12,000 people working on that movie. So, that, you think, gosh, it costs so much, but that's 12,000 people, that's 12,000 jobs. And, when you're writing, it's not just, me writing the story. I work with a lot of different people to make these stories come alive. I have to have the graphic artist. And to give you a little bit about my graphic artist, she's a single mom with 2 kids. And you know, and this is how she makes her living. And then, you know, those who listen to audiobooks absolutely adore David. David he's got family, he's got kids, he's got a golden retriever. And so it's neat being able to do something where, you know, it's not just me, but I'm also giving back, you know, to other people around the world, and helping, you know, the young girl that helps me with my formatting, and you know, she reads through the books and gives me critiques and everything else. And she just got married. So it's like I said, it's not just about, you know, if you're thinking that an author is just sitting there and they just write the book and then upload it, it's a lot more behind the scenes, just like it would be with any other business. You know, it takes a team to make these books come alive. And just like it takes a team to make a movie come alive. And I think that is important in life, is to give back. It's not just, you know, and that's another reason why I keep my prices low. I've had a couple of people, in fact I got one today, you know, an elderly lady who was on disability, and she says, you know, I'm on a very tight budget, and she says, I want to thank you for all of the hours that you've given me of entertainment and pleasure. And I think that's a gift. And I have to make a living too, just like anyone else. Like right now I don't have any food in the house. I need to go grocery shopping because we have like nothing. Not even bread. I ate we had the last of the bread today. So it's I just wanted to share with you the importance of what it takes to bring something like this alive, and to say thank you to everyone, not just the readers, but to Melanie and to Paul and to Laura Lee and to Sally and Julie and Jolanda. And Jolanda's in the Netherlands. Norel. I know I'm missing Debbie. And Crystal. You know, poor Crystal. I'm surprised she even has a voice. Crystal reads my stories out loud. And she says that's the best way for her, you know, when she's doing it, to see, you know, if there's any words that I missed or skipped or used too many times. And that they're letting me know. Was it, don't use escape too many times, don't use gaze too many times. And I have a tendency to put words backwards, so they'll tease me about that. And Linda, I want to say thank you to Linda. Linda is really, really sweet. She's always letting me know if I've got a correction here or there that I need to make. So these are people from all over the world, and I just wanted to say thank you. So Krista says hello. Hi, Krista. She says she wanted to say hello, but she can't stay, but have a great night. Have a great night. Tracina, I see that you're here. Tracina and I we talk frequently. Rosalie said bye, Krista. So if you're still here, say hi and bye. And Susan says hi and thank you. And Crystal is watching. So getting back to one of the things I do is I say the word so too much, and I keep hearing myself and I'm thinking, oh, I got to quit saying that. But knowing me, I won't. I'm kind of tenacious about certain things, but I'll recognize it, and then I'm like, okay, I got to focus, because the squirrels get loose. Which, let me tell you what, it's hilarious watching the squirrels out in the backyard right now. They're all falling out of the trees, chasing each other. Then, so we have the Dragonlings coming out. We have the Dragonlings coloring book, an activity book coming out with 2 of the stories in it. And like I said, the artwork is hilarious. I love the drawings that Adrian did. He captured Traylon in the ball pit, the dragon pit, with all the balls. And then if you look at the drawings, he's got some little Easter eggs in it. So if you look around, you'll see some of the characters that are kind of hidden in the drawings. That was really cool that he was able to do that. And then I have A Witch's Touch coming out March 20th on audiobook. Pearl's Dragon is in pre-production. I've already talked to David about that. And which other ones has he been working? Oh, Alejandro's Kiss is out, an audiobook. I just found that out today. I'm always the last one to know about the audiobooks. But Alejandro's Kiss is out today on Audible. And it will be coming out with iTunes in the next few days. So, Naomi says, hi, I've read some of your stuff. Well, I hope that you've enjoyed the ones that you've read. Let me know which ones you haven't. If you want, then some of the other ladies can tell you about it. And we can kind of get an idea of which ones you like the best. Crystal says, hi, and I love your books. Thank you. Does anyone have any questions? If you do, go ahead and ask them. If I don't get to them now, then I will definitely get to them as I go through the comments. I try to go through everything in case I missed anything, because I have to kind of go up and down and scroll to see what's going on. I have it on my phone. And I have been very impressed that the dog, I've been grand puppy sitting for 3 weeks, has been behaving herself. But I think it's because I finally took her ball away from her. All right. So I am going to call it a night. I've got a little bit more writing to do. I wanted to finish this Dragonlings story tonight. And I want to say hello to everybody that came in and say thank you very much. And anyone who ends up watching this, just post a question if you have it, and I'll make sure. Trisha does have one question before I go. She says, am I going to do more of the Cruzians? Yes, I am. The Dark Princess Prize, I know I've been promising that one. It was kind of put off. But I'm back in action now, and I'm staying focused. So expect more from all of my, including my More Than Human series. Mitchell and Tracy's will be out later this fall. So there's a lot. And Angela's got a question. She says, will the goddesses get stories? After Twin Dragon's Destiny, the next story in the Dragon Lord series will be Anakatiras. And so, yes. Now, Arilla and Arosa are still kind of young, so they may end up getting their stories, but it's going to be a little while because they are up to a lot more mischief. Nicole says, I'm halfway through A Witch's Touch, loving this new series. Thank you. I do have to say I've been working on the Sea Witch's Redemption, which is going to be, again, much longer than what it was in my newsletters. And that one, oh my gosh, I started writing on it, and I'm so excited about finishing it. I'm getting to know a lot more about Magna and her relationships with Orion and Capian before, everything happened. So I'm getting to see a lot of that. And then, of course, I'm looking forward to seeing what happens after she meets the two guys and everything happens. So I don't want to say too much because I don't want to do any spoilers. But let's just say that one's going to be a little bit hotter, spicier, simply because there are the two guys and the one woman. But I think you're going to like it. We will be seeing more of Ross, which Ross will have his story in The Magic Shell. And then, of course, let's see, the book after this is going to be Ruth, which I fell in love with Ruth and A Witch's Touch when she comes in and gives her brother the puppy. And it was like payback. So, and we're dealing with puppies right now because I have a new grand puppy too. So it's kind of like the piranha with teeth. That is definitely what we're going through at the moment. It's like, don't eat that, and please, I've got little scratches on my arms where he was wanting to play the other day. Tricia says, oh my God, I can't wait for a story. And Angela says, also, you gave a little hint about Anakatira in the most recent Dragonlings audiobook. Yes, I did. There's a lot going on in that story, and with her, and more is going to come out in the Twin Dragons' Destiny, and then that's what's actually going to lead into her story. And so I don't want to say too much because you're going to get more of what's going on in the Twin Dragons. So, oh, thank you, Crystal. Hi, Amanda. She says the next one in the Command series, and the next one is coming out in May, and it's going to be Survival Skills, and that's going to be Sergei's story. And I love that series. I know it's different from my others. It's a more grounded sci-fi type, more action adventure. It still has the romance and everything going through it, but it's definitely more of the action adventure type stuff than it is the fantasy romance. It's the grounded contemporary type romance. But Sergei's story is going to be it, and it's coming out May 15th, I believe. So, but I'm like I said, I'm looking forward to that one. There's 5 books in that series, so Sergei's is next, and then it'll be Julia, and then May's. And Crystal's like, yay, and I'm glad. And I'm excited about the fact that Dust will have his second book come out this year too. Oh, and Capture the Defiance made the finalist list for the Wishing Shelf Book Award in 2017. So I had Voyage of the Defiance and Capture the Defiance both made the finalist list. And this is kind of like the People's Choice Award in the UK. What they do is you submit the books to the Wishing Shelf Book Award, and they send it out to reading groups throughout the UK and Scotland. And so these groups are all independent readers. They're not, anything. They're just reading groups from around the country that say, we would like to, grade this. And so what they do is they read it. They have a rubric that they have to go by and say, does it have this? And then they mark it down that way. And so what ended up happening is I submitted Capture the Defiance, and in the adult category this time, I had won it last year. I had 2 in the young adult, in the young adult, and Voyage of the Defiance made it into the finalist as a finalist, and then Dust actually won. So it's really exciting for me to see that Capture the Defiance made it into the finalists. So I was like, yay! So Edith says, you ask your readers questions. I have one for you. If you were given a chance to explore other worlds, would you go? We were actually talking about that the other night. Steve and I, they were talking about the length of time it would take to go to Mars. And, I told him, he was actually, some of the criteria that they were asking for was, you're going to be living in a small capsule and close quarters, for over 2 years. And, the type of mentality that can handle that, the personalities and stuff. And they were saying that you needed to have somebody that had a hobby and that they really, really enjoyed. And that they could do the work, but then they could also do their hobby. And both of us are that way. He does stargazing and stuff. And then with me, with my writing. And so we were actually talking that we would be, especially with our kids grown, the perfect candidates. We deal well in small areas together for long periods of time. You learn that when you take one of the trains from Florida to New York City, and you're living in something about the size of a closet for 3 days. So anyway, it's one of the things that, I would have to say yes. If I could go, I probably would. I think it would be such a wonderful experience. And hopefully I would survive it. I think we still have a long ways to go to get the technology to be able to go all the way to Mars and back. But I think that it's a possibility. So, Debbie says congratulations, Rosalie, Chris, Angela, also thank you. Congratulations, thank you. And Angela says, did you see the hearts and the poppers on your end? I do see those. I see the hearts and the poppers and everything popping up, and it floats across my screen. So if you see my eyes going like that, it's because I'm following. It's like, you know, that squirrel moment. Like right now, they're all popping up. And I think it's so cool because then I'm like, yay! Of course, if I do this, then of course then you think of Deadpool and a few other things. And now I'm blushing. Which, let me tell you what, never go see Deadpool with your young grandson. I'm like, now I'm blushing again. Will you be doing more and the More Than Human? Nicole asked that. Yes, I'm going to be doing Mitchell and Tracy's. I'm hoping to have it done by October, the late October. That story and that world was different in that the concept came about. I'm reading all of these shifter books, and what happened is I had a traditional publishing company contacted me, and they wanted me to write erotica, which I don't write erotica. I write very sexy, steamy love scenes, but I don't technically write erotica. And I explained that to her, and then she said, well, then can you write a book about shifter? And she was telling me about it. And I said, well, I could write that story, but if I did, what's going to make it different from the other 2,000 books that were published yesterday that are the same thing? And so then she says, well, let me give you this other scenario. And she started telling me about it. And I said, well, I think 10,000 of those were written last week. And that wasn't an exaggeration. It was like I could name on one hand, just like that, the authors that had written books with that kind of scenario. And so I told her, I said, I've got an idea. And I said, give me 3 days and I'll have you the first 3 chapters. So 24 hours later, I had her the first 3 chapters. That's how quickly and excited I got. And that first 3 chapters end up being the beginnings of Ella and the Beast. And I realized that I had never read any other shifter books where, in that case, the shifters ruled the world. They thought the humans were extinct. And, you know, of course, the world is going to evolve very similar along the lines of what it is now, with the same type of slightly different hierarchy, because of the fact that, you know, they do have a more aggressive type personality, but they're still got that human part of them. And yet then you've got basically the tribes or the clans of humans that have been able to, little pockets, who have been able to live underneath the radar of these shifters. And so the whole story just started to evolve in my head. And that's how the More Than Human series came about. And I just literally, I fell in love with the series. And I've been kind of frustrated that I haven't been able to get back to it yet. So that was one of my goals, was this year I'm devoting myself to getting back to my series and focusing on writing the stories that I love to write. And so if I pop in a Dragonling story here, or I've had a lot of people asking me about a Spirit Past series, wanting the 3rd book in that one. I may end up writing it later this year. I've had requests for Dallas, Rune's sister, and I have to tell you, I fell in love with the cover. I want to write the book just because I fell in love with the cover that I had Melanie create. So there's a lot of books, some of them like Dust, you know. Um, it, it, Dust is such a dynamic character. He's got that quiet personality, but he's a definite alpha male. You're seeing him growing. And it's like when Josie threatened Sammy, and he came very close to killing Josie. He's just like, you don't want to go here. You don't want to hurt Sammy. Trust me, this is not some place that you want to play with, because I will kill you. And that was part of, just that, you see that quietness that you're not expecting, and then he just came out, and it's like, you don't want to wake this part of me, because if you do, it's not going to be good for you. And so I like stories like that. I like characters like that. So, Chris, she says, did I miss when it is coming out? So if you're looking for the More Than Human, I'm planning tentatively right now, because I do have a heavy schedule, but it's only up until the end of July. Then after that, I'm kind of like free, because I want to write Jarman's story, and I definitely want to write Jarman. I want to write Adelar. I want to write Rorik's. I want to write Mitchell and Tracy's, but I'm looking at probably the end of October for the second book in the More Than Human series. And Tristina says, which you're very good at. Thank you. Angela says, I'm on your website. I did not realize that your books are animated. Yes. Isn't that cool? If you go to my website and you look at the covers, I actually have the covers animated. And again, that's my way of helping out. I met this fabulous woman. Her name is Opal at RT. And to give you a little bit of background, Opal is disabled. She has severe rheumatoid arthritis. And she's in her mid-30s. She has children, and she has to be in a wheelchair most of the time because the arthritis is so bad. But one way that she that she helps her family is she has her own business, and through that business she animates the book covers. And they are just so awesome. I just fall in love with them because it really makes them pop and brings the magic that what Melanie has done and makes it into 3D. So if you haven't taken a look at the book covers that are animated, take the time to do so. So Luella says, love your books. Can't wait for the new ones. They keep me going during my chemo treatments. And this is why I need to shut down the voices, the negative voices that say, your book, I didn't like this book because you did this, that, or the other, or it, you think it stopped at 50%, but if you'd have kept going, you'd see that it didn't. That kind of thing. I have to shut those voices down, and I have to focus on the good things. And if my books can help you get through the chemo treatments, then I'm going to write the damn books. Because that's what I'm here for. It's to help. And I'm going to feel good about it. So let's see, what else? Do we have any more questions? If you do, then just ask. If you want to post them down below, I'll go through them and give those answers. So I think right now I'm going to say good night to everybody. I hope you have a wonderful weekend coming up, and that I will see you next week. Good night.